Yeah, had a bit of interest, but people that I think people are assuming that they're going to watch the recordings and it's going to be crisp, but you won't have that interaction, those questions and
Yeah,
all.
man. You gotta ask the questions too, bro.
I'm assuming you guys have Unreal installed. Everything okay?
Yeah. 5.3.2, right?
Yo, someone's bagging.
Yeah, that's my neighbors banging. I don't know what the fuck is going on then, man. I've been dealing with
Yeah.
this all day. I'm gonna put myself on mute so that it doesn't drive you guys
Yes.
crazy too,
Yes,
alright?
please, bro. Yes, please. Ask them to stop banging. Yeah, that was loud. Hey, Alex.
Sup, baby?
Hello. Well, I guess he's not fully here yet.
Oh,
Hello.
There you are.
Hello, hello.
hi.
My neighbors are banging like crazy, so I'm just gonna mute myself whenever I'm not talking, alright, dog?
Oh,
Is there construction happening next door, or
Yeah, I have no idea, man. It's every
Let's
single fucking day.
let's
I don't know.
call
oh, that kind of okay.
let's call it
No, no,
construction.
no. It's rough sex, man.
Oh, mate. Should I hit record from now? Cool.
From now, yeah, man.
Yeah, just FYI, we are recording these sessions, so bear that in mind. It's great. They're not going to be publicly available. Don't worry. It's only within the group. Um, yeah, less banging. Let's banging.
For sure, man. For sure.
Before we kick off, guess you snooze, you lose. That's my motto. So if you're late, you gotta catch up. Everyone's got Unreal Engine 5.3 installed. 5.3.2 to be specific.
I wanted to ask, is it okay if I have 5.4?
It is okay. You can use this
Yeah.
probably the same stuff we're gonna cover, but just bear in mind a little bit more buggy. So there's a few more issues
All
with
right.
5.4 than there is with 5.3. So up to you if you want to go through that. Your choice. But
I just already have it, and I don't want to uninstall it and
yeah,
reinstall it.
all good, all good, all good. I mean, you can install multiple versions of Unreal. I have from 4.27 all the way up to 5.5, so you can install multiple different versions. Um,
Won't
you'll
it take up a lot of space, though?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you have
I'll,
two
I'll just take.
drives, I recommend installing it to like your second drive. But obviously SSD is preferred because it processes it faster.
This is a laptop. I'm not gonna try and push it too hard.
Oh, you're doing a wise thing. Um, my laptop is ready to die at any moment, even whilst we're having this call. But yeah, everyone else all good with the version, ready to crack on.
Yep.
Yep, sweet,
Yeah.
Yeah.
sweet. So let me start by sharing my screen over here. We're going to look at these numbers in a bit. So feel free to watch stream. Put me on full screen as well. Lovely. So here we are in the Epic Games launcher, starting with the basics. On the top right hand corner, you should see your Unreal Engine version. But also, if you go to library, you have the engine versions here. You can see all the ones listed. Like I said, we use 5.3.2, but you can install multiple different versions. I still use some of the older versions for previous projects just because they're more robust, especially for VR. So you'll see sometimes you might need the new advanced stuff that 5.3 has. Sometimes you can afford to roll back to previous versions. So we're going to go ahead and hit launch 5.3.2. We're going to launch our first project, everyone. Exciting times. Um, let's put up another window on my other side, but let me bring it back. Usually when you launch it for the first time, it's going to start to store some cache data on your SSD or wherever you installed it, so bear with it. But let me know once you've. I'm probably a lot slower than most of you if you're running on higher end computers, so it might be good to see who gets project up first. And you should come up with something like that. Let me know if we're all on the same page. Feel
Yep.
free to stop me if you have any questions or stuck.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Groovy. So recent projects, obviously, I've opened up a lot of projects lately, and they're all here. So it's quick to access previous stuff that you've done. And here below you have a list of preset templates, let's call them. So you can select any one of these, and it'll start to show you like simulation. Is where you find virtual reality templates with all the controllers. If you're looking for architecture, this one's got a setup for multiplayer game, so you can stream multiple players at the same time into the same game. Film and production, if you want to do some camera VFX stuff. But we are focusing on the games template section. The games template, third person, and project location. So I recommend for faster launching of projects, you would tend to use your normal C drive, but mine is already maxed to the limit, so I'm using my alternative drive. So feel free to hit the little browse for folder icon and search for a place to store that project. I like to create a subfolder on Unreal Engine 5 and just store them in there, or on your desktop, whatever your file structure is. I'm sure everyone's got their own way of doing that. Select folder, and we're going to give it our project name. Now for those from a programming background, we're going to call this Hello World. Love a good Hello World. And last but not least, under the blueprint section in the project's defaults, we're going to enable starter content. And target platform should be desktop. Quality preset should be maximum. Could be scalable. Maximum is good to get that max quality. And we'll look at ray tracing at another time. Cool. And when you're ready, just hit create. Unreal doesn't like spacings in the names, so rather than using space, I recommend using underscores. It's usually the programming approach things. We're going to be using a lot of underscores in our naming. And that should start launching your first project. Now, if you're creating multiple projects with different versions, in the Epic Games launcher, it will preview which version they're on. So you don't need to track them instead of version control. You can see from the library in the preview. But if you want, you can add that to your name. It might take a bit more time this time because we enabled starter content, so it's going to give us a few objects to play with. Oh, baby. Apologies for the microphone today, it's a bit weak. Get a better one next week. So yeah, usually it does this for a while. The first time it loads, stores all your cache somewhere in the subfolders, and then it will launch faster the second time you launch it. So here we are. Let me know once you've all launched the project. You can see something similar to what I see.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yep, I have it.
Sweet. Cool. Now it might look slightly differently. Of course, I've played around with my interface the first time, so let me just go and do Window, Load Layouts, Default Editor. So you can always go back to the default editor once you've changed it. There it is. It should look something like that now. Cool. So this is Unreal, everybody. Now, quick navigation hotkeys so we can start playing around, and then we'll look at hotkeys a little bit more in detail after we've looked at the user interface. So right mouse click, hold, press in the 3D view to rotate. Middle left click, press and hold to push forward and back on your mouse, or left and right to rotate as well. Just like a quick and easy 3D navigation. Middle scroll wheel to go to pan around, so similar like a cross motion. And if we hold down right click in the viewport to give us rotation, tilt, and we press W, we move forward, S, we move back, A, we move left, D, we move right. So similar to games we play, you can use a combination of them, tilt it around and fly through like that. Pretty much similar to Unity, I believe, as well. You can use Q to go down and E to go up whilst holding the right mouse button at the same time. So kind of like constantly having your right click pressed and just flying around. You're seeing like this, pressing Q and E, go up and down if you need to. So that's sort of basic, very basic navigation, and we'll be using this a lot to fly around. Now, in terms of the user interface, very similar to most 3D applications you use. Again, I'm going very basic level here, so some of you might be familiar with this stuff already, so bear with. File usually is save, import, new levels, all the basic functionality. In the edit section, we'll be using a lot of the project settings and plugins. Well, plugins we might not look into, but if in the future you want to do something outside the box and you need something specific, like let's say we want to do 3D text for some reason, that is a plugin that we need to enable to allow us access to that feature. Here I have a list of custom plugins that I use quite often, but here is a bit more advanced. Here you can start to look at more of the advanced features if you're interested. Window is where we will find a lot of our tabs that we will use on a daily. So content browsers, properties, outliners for all our assets, where they're stored, etc. We'll deep dive more into those features. So these are the tools. We won't look into that. It's more advanced. And obviously, if you need any help, documentation, quick shortcuts is to use some of these developer community learning library sections. They take you directly to those website links. On the right hand side, I'll just move this down. So all of these tabs you can move, manipulate, and adjust. So on the right hand side, we have our outliner, which is the list of all our assets in the scene. So if I click on SM Cube, which is the first one, we can see it highlighting with a yellow outline, a selection in the 3D view. And as we select things in the list, you can start to see things get highlighted. They're also grouped in folders, which makes it nice and neat for us to find. Naming conventions, super important to find stuff quickly when you need to, by the way. So we'll look at how we section those out throughout the workshops. And on below the outliner, we have our detail section, which has, if I bring this more up, all the um, basic and advanced properties for that specific item that we've selected, object that we've selected. So in this case, we've got a static mesh, which is a 3D cube. We have its location, rotation, scale, mobility, material properties, um, physics that we're going to apply to it if we want to do certain things, collision presets. So basically this is our floor, so we need to tell it that it's a floor and we can step on it. So that's the stuff that we do in here, and other properties that we'll dive into later on throughout the workshops. So feel free to scroll down and just open all the tabs and see what's underneath the hood. I recommend breaking things and going underneath the hood as much as possible. Also, if you've opened everything and it's getting a bit messy and you want to find a way to collapse everything back to what it was before, on the top right corner of the details, here next to the search bar, you have a drop down which says collapse all, expand all, show only the modified properties. So if you want to compare two models, you can only see which properties have been changed, which is nice and easy to compare, and other features, keyable, animated, etc. So we can just collapse all. That'll bring it nice and neat back to where it was. Cool. So we have our outliner, our details page, and our 3D viewer. I gotta take a break to show you guys this. This is hilarious. The dog is just hovering and waiting. I can't get it focused. Just been for your walk. So yeah, 3D view, outliner, properties, and in here, I don't know what to call this section. Another toolbar is where we'll dive into stuff like landscape, foliage, modeling, manipulating models, animations, etc. So these are sort of like your sub layers of editing, I like to call it. These I won't necessarily get into. You can press them, click them yourself, and see what they do. It's more for sequences and blueprints. Play. Obviously, feel free to hit play and see what it does for the first time. And remember the keys that we've used: WASD to fly around, rotate the camera. You don't need to right click, but you can just jump. Whee! Press spacebar. We're 70% of the way there. We've built our first game. But yeah, this can be quite addictive. So yeah, I'll let you play in your own time. But yeah, this is the beauty about Unreal. Straight off the bat, obviously we've got similar templates available in Unity as well, but you can just get a template straight off and break it apart and start to see how it's been created, which is quite useful. Here below the selection mode, we have our different perspective and orthographic views that we'll use mostly. So in here, we'll learn a lot of these shortcuts, how we can move from top view, scrolling out, and using right to pan. So scrolling with my mouse wheel and using the right button to pan left and right. So when we're working with the 2D view versus the 3D view, the controls start to change a little bit, so bear that in mind. We can't fly around using WASD, but we'll use more of our mouse tools. And we'll learn some of these shortcuts as well. Left view, obviously, back, front, top. Feel free to click them all and see where that takes you. But these will be quite important in the sort of alignment of our scene and setting up our scene in 3D. Also, within these views, as you noticed, as I jump from perspective to top view, it's changed the way the scene is displayed. and that's this wireframe mode up here. This is quite useful to see the alignment of objects. So we can see here the vertices are joined up, so there's no holes and there's nothing breaking that model. But we can also visit this in a more lit mode, which is currently the way our scene is displayed. I don't know what all these arrows are. Your scene contains sky dome. Okay, yeah. Obviously, it displays some of the GI, global illumination, that's lighting up the scene, but not in the high detail as we would see it in 3D view. And more features. Unlit mode. If you want to see the lighting only, if you want to see reflections in the scene, player collisions. We'll use this a lot when we're creating our game to see where the character can and can't walk onto, and other more advanced visualizers. We'll dive into these once we get to rendering and optimization of the scene later on, but these will be very handy tools. And here we can filter stuff if we don't want to see them in the 3D view. So if we don't want to see our static meshes, our objects, if we don't want to see the grid, we can disable the grid. If we want to create a nice little screenshot or a promo video, it's a nice way to disable stuff like that. But yeah, feel free to see what and what isn't in this tab. I won't go into much detail. You are familiar with 3D elements. So going back to perspective, so we'll get used to some hotkeys. Alt and G. Whee. Alt H. Alt J. And Alt K. Alt H, J, K. Nice and easy on your keyboard in a linear format. It helps you jump between the views. So if we're, I hit Alt P, it's a different one. So if we're trying to analyze a specific mesh, let's say this cube, and we want to see if it's aligned with this wall, we can select it, look at it in 3D. Obviously in 3D it can be a little bit perceptive. You can't really see if it's aligned. So we'll jump to Alt H, and then if you press F with the object selected, it zoomed in. Oh, I'll jump back to wireframe mode so we can see the same thing. That's another shortcut, Alt 2, and then you can zoom and see the alignment of that object with the other object. And if we're happy from the top view, Alt J, oh sorry, that was top, we'll move to top view, Alt J, and Alt K from the left view. So yeah. Feel free to play around a little bit with that navigation. I'm just flicking between the views. If you at any point forget the hotkeys, they're always displayed in the 3D view in the toolbar. So don't you worry. Plus, I'm going to share with you a nice little hotkeys guide which you can print or have as a desktop background on your computer. I want to print it and put it on my mouse mat. That would be nice to have just behind my keyboard, just to memorize all these things slowly. But we won't. It'll take you some time. I'm still forgetting a lot of them. Plus, they change with versions, so bear that in mind. Okay, so we're familiar with a few basic hotkeys and navigating between 3D view and 2D views. We're all happy with that. Let me know if I'm going too fast, too slow.
Nope, that's a good pace.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yes,
I had
it's good.
I had a weird glitch though. My environment lighting, like for whatever reason, the clouds are there, but everything became black instead of blue. But I haven't deleted anything. I'm checking my undo history.
Which mode are you here? Are you in perspective view?
Yeah, perspective lit. Nothing's changed as far as I can tell.
Did you turn off the fog?
I turned off the fog. Thank you, Kat. That's exactly it. Cheers.
Yeah, no problem.
There you go. Love. Was it in one of the properties in the outliner here? Height fog.
No, in the where it says show next to lit in the
Oh, that
main
one,
kind of
yeah.
view.
Yeah.
Yeah, fog. I turned off fog by accident. That was it. Cheers, cut and cheers, Petters.
There you go. You can also hide them and unhide the objects here in the outliner as well if you want to see what they're offering to the scene, especially with the lighting. You can see what's being contributed. So if I turn off this toggle visibility of this directional light, we can see the scene now starts to go black because that is our main source of light, and we can toggle that on and off. That's a good point, actually. Let's dive into some of these basic features that are already in this level right here. So we have our 3D objects, our static meshes, we call them in Unreal. So that's all our default cubes as such. We can minimize those. And then we go into lighting. So we have our directional light, which is sort of our main source of light. I won't dive too much into directional lights at the moment. We'll cover that in the next tutorial. Exponential height fog, as the word is, it's fog introduced into the scene. So if you turn that off, obviously it goes black. Post-process volumes, we'll leave that for next time. Sky atmosphere, similar to, it's another layer to the height fog, basically. Let's control that out. And then we have volumetric clouds, which are the clouds in the scene. So now we just have an atmosphere and our height fog, and if we turn that off, we just have our atmosphere. So we can see what all these elements are contributing to the environment. And as
One
you,
quick question. In
sir,
the details tab, there's a few different things that are below my search bar. This is like general, actor, LOD, but you don't seem to have them on your screen. Is there a way to toggle them on and off?
you see at the bottom, you scroll down.
It's just below where the search bar is, but like they're kind of persistent. So even if I scroll through the details, it's still there underneath the search bar. It says general, actor, LOD, but like I'm guessing as a standard you have all on, so all of the different options for the item that you're selected are there. But it usually works standardly for whatever reason with general. I'm just wondering if there's a way to remove these words that are kind of just in the way.
Oh, the like here in the details section that I'm hovering over now, like
Well,
these properties here.
kind of, but
Oh,
it just
Milo, if you hit the gear button next to the search, it says show selections. If you toggle that off, they go away.
that's it. Yep. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it, man.
No problem. The show selections right there on the gear menu.
The show modified only.
Yeah, it's underneath. It's you currently have show child on category match turned
Yeah.
on, and if it's show selections underneath is what Milo had turned on.
Show sections. There we go. Nice one. All right, we're also learning things. Nice one, Cam. We're also learning things.
I didn't know that was there either.
I mean, now I know Milo just clicks anything.
Nah, man, it was there from the beginning. I was just like, what's going on here? Why is it different? Why do I have to be different, man?
I mean, that's pretty much the way I've learned in Unreal. Like especially when people are doing tutorials, they have their UI already set up in their way, the way they work, and you're trying to figure how they've got there and how they ended up there. And it's nice to break it back and try and figure that out, because once you do that once, then you're never gonna forget it after that. So well spotted there, nice one. And moving down the list, but you've got details and the type of asset that it is, so you can quickly identify them. You've got static meshes, we'll have skeletal actors, um, and we'll deep dive some of these features more in the next tutorials. So we covered basic navigation, basic scene assets, how we navigate through the scene, outliner, detail section. Now let's have a look at our content browser, which is where all our assets and files are being shared. So in the bottom left hand corner right here, we have this content browser button. We click that, and that pops up another UI element. There is a way to dock this in the layout. So if you use this often, so let's say, sorry, for example, now I can browse through these folders, but now if I click back in the 3D view, I lose the content browser. So sometimes you might want to work with assets often. You can learn the hotkey to open it and close it, which is Shift Control Spacebar. So if you hit Control Spacebar, that opens and closes it. So if you're doing modeling especially, and there's too many UI elements in your scene, it can get a bit clunky, and you want to use hotkeys to enable and disable things. For instance, if I'm working, let's say in top view wireframe, and I'm looking at this model, if I have my content browser on, and even though I can shrink it a little bit, you can see that's restricting my 3D view a little bit. So utilizing those hotkeys is quite helpful. Or if you want to use to browse assets all the time, I recommend clicking dock in layout, and that just permanently keeps the content browser there in the viewport. And you can bring it up or down, and that adjusts with the view. I'm trying to remember if this might look differently to yours, but I think this is the same. I haven't changed this. Maybe I'm in dark view. There is dark view, light view. There you can customize all the UI elements if you want to make your editor fancier. Just under edit, preferences, and
The only thing that I don't have is in the content drawer, the engine folder. I don't see that one on my end.
that's the magic sauce. That's the magic sauce. Okay, nice one. So how do we get the engine content in there? That's a bit more advanced stuff. We won't get into this immediately. Probably in workshop 5 or 6 when we're getting into blueprints. But same as the details panel on the right hand side, how you can modify what's visible and what's not. In the content browser, you also have settings, sorry, and in there you can show engine content, show plugin content, show developer content if you're developing your own assets and stuff. You can use this to view the items in a list if you want to look at them more in a list or in columns. That's under settings, view type, tile, list, column, vertical, horizontal. You can customize this however you want. Tiles is nice and easy to see some of the assets, but obviously if you're looking through types and trying to filter, you can use lists. And if your tiles are too small, on the thumbnail below, you can change the size of the thumbnail. So if you want it pretty big, I think you can also do that holding control and middle mouse wheel mouse scroll, so that changes the size. Wee, teeny tiny. And if you click into one of these folders, let's say go into start a content and props, for instance, you can now see a list of your props, but obviously they might be hard to see. So you can scroll and look at them in higher detail here in the content browser before bringing them into your scene. Yeah, so feel free to play around with those settings there as well, customize it, but obviously bear in mind if you move too many things around, you can always go back to window, layout, and use default editor layout. So if you got stuck somewhere or you can't find the window and it's completely lost, just go back to reset to default, and that will take you back to the beginning. Also, if you've created your own layout and you want to use that in the future, so let's say we're happy with this layout, Once you get into more editing, you'll see why this might be important, but you can also save the layout and import it into a new computer that you're using, um, maybe a new engine version if they allow you to, but that can get quite comprehensive. I'm very specific with my layout, and when I go to other people's computers, I tend to bring that along with me on a hard drive. Otherwise, it takes me forever just to get all my tabs in the right formation. So yes, break and make. What else is here? Output log. So this is generally stuff that's happening when you're doing modifications in the scenes, when you moved assets, when you're um, launching your browser, launching your game. If it crashes, this is where all that information is stored in your output log. This will be quite important when we do blueprints and codes later on in the next tutorials. CMD, a bit more advanced, but if you're good with Python scripts, you can customize a lot of your workflows. So please tell me if you're good with Python, and I will give you a lot of responsibilities. And bottom right hand corner, I haven't used this stuff much. This is revision control, so this is stuff that Milo was asking for last week for sharing projects. So if you're working on the same project with multiple people, you can set up revision control. What else is in here? Trace. I mean, I've been using Unreal for so many years, I haven't even pressed these buttons. Bookmarks, yeah, you can bookmark stuff. Cool. Feel free to play around, and if you find anything useful, share it along. Statistics is something I like. So this is probably something you don't have visible on your screen at the top right hand corner. I've got this frame rate and latency displaying and memory. It's quite an object's vertices is quite useful to have stuff like that. I really want to tell you guys how I got there, but it's in the project settings probably. It's in editor preferences. But here, if you go on the three dots underneath viewport next to your viewer, you can see this show FPS and show stats. If you click this show FPS on your top right hand corner in your 3D view, you should see the current FPS of the project that you're running. Some may be higher, some may be lower, some may be capped at 60, some may be capped at 90, but yeah, that depends on your graphics specs. So this is quite
Alternatively, you can go on edit, editor preferences, performance, and then there's a tick for show frame rate and memory.
that's the one that's up there, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's the one. So revisit that. Edit, editor preferences, performance, show frame rate, and memory. Thanks to Alex. I've had that checked for years now, and it's never been unchecked. This is all stuff that you can export, like I said before. So any of these settings, if you're using them across different projects, you can export those and import those in, so you can get started straight away. Some of this stuff, like I said, you use by default for many years and you forget you have it, or even where to even find it. So save those files. And okay, cover content browser, a few optimization viewing methods. So this will be quite useful when we start working with landscapes and foliage and lighting and shadows. We're going to see this drop to like 5, and then we're going to try and see how we can bring it back up and optimize that. But some of you might be different because you're working on better hardware. In these 3 dots underneath, again, there are other useful tools. So bookmarks is something that if you're working with a large landscape, like let's say you're working on a project like Fortnite or a large open world game, you want to create bookmarks for your cameras so you can jump to different places throughout the world. So if you're editing if you're editing the same thing in different parts of the world, you can quickly jump to them and edit that same thing. So bookmarks will be quite handy in those scenarios. You can add cameras here. You can take screenshots of what you're seeing is. You can change your layout. So if you want to show just a two view of perspective and top view, you can do it that way. Then you can maximize one of the views if you want by clicking this button in the top right hand corner. Still haven't memorized the shortcut for that. I think it's F10 or something. And I'll go back to the default one pane view. Another not useful key to remember, again I'll share all this with you later, is F10. F10 just takes away everything on the sidebars and gives you a nice full picture 3D view. So if we're working on a nice camera shot, or if we're playing our game and we want to see what it looks like in sort of like a windowed version, jump to F10 and back to F10 again, or full screen, which is F11, F11, and F11. All the
Maybe it's a bit of a. It might be a stupid question, right?
no stupid questions here, man.
But like I was messing around there with the screens, and then it said like I exhausted my I don't know VRAM or something like that.
Oh
But
yeah,
now I've gone back and reverted the view, but my memory consumption is about double yours, and even though I'm looking at the exact same thing as we speak, so I'm like 6,000 something. Is there a way to bring it back down, or what exactly is going on here?
that's Unreal Engine 5 for you. That
Mm,
video memory stuff will always come up. I tend to ignore it because it's not necessarily true. Um,
okay.
it's sort of not a bug, but it's just a way of Unreal telling you that there is not enough allocated VRAM on your machine for what it's trying
Mm,
to do. But what we're trying here
yeah,
to do is pretty basic, so I would ignore that.
exactly.
What sort of specs are
Yeah.
you running on? Just out of curiosity.
I'm on a 3050. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
It's a laptop though, so bear in mind it's probably a 3050M. But yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm,
That will accumulate as you start doing more things in the editor, as cache will start getting stored. Um, but the easiest way to fix something like that is to probably restart the editor. So close it and reopen it, and sometimes it just takes some of that cache away, deletes it, and then starts from scratch. But
cool.
that
All right.
that
No
error
worries. Thanks,
message
man.
will come up a lot for everyone in the future. I'm surprised I don't have it already. I'm on a 2060, so I am hopefully I'm OBSing this. Am I recording this session? Hold on, let me check. Yes, we are. Woohoo! Recording, screen sharing, and video, all on a 2060. This is top quality. Um,
Not bad.
They don't make them how they used to, man. Not anymore. Mm.
I mean, the F keys is something you'll use a lot, especially in the. There's other modes that we can get into. Yeah, F keys will be quite common. Plus, if you're used to other software hotkeys, and I understand how frustrating this could be sometimes. I used to work with 3ds Max, and then I went to Maya, and it was just like, ah, what's going on here? It's just Autodesk, please. So obviously they had a preset that you could change, which is great. But if you're used to that way of working, you can input that into Unreal. Um, Probably through editor preferences. Keyboard shortcuts, yeah. So you can bring in edit editor preferences, keyboard shortcuts, and you can customize any of these things we spoke about. This could get quite, if you get into something more granular, like blueprint editing, working with code, or if you're working with animations, you will want to create your own sort of template hotkey so you can do stuff quickly, and that's a lot to do with functionalities in Unreal, like cutting and chopping frames, or disconnecting nodes in a blueprint, or finding the last thing you've edited or property that you've changed quickly. Yeah, feel free to have a look through all this list and see what makes sense for you to set up. But this is more advanced stuff once we get to familiarize ourselves with the editor. But yeah, feel free to import your own Maya, whatever software you use. Import some of their um, hotkeys into Unreal and use it that way. That's totally doable. Ready for time? All right, 12 minutes. Content browser. Okay, in the window. If you go to Window and Place Actors, that will pop up another window on our left hand side. So you can see now what I mean. Now it starts to get populated in the UI, so we can see less and less of our 3D view, which is where F10 comes in handy sometimes if you want to visualize the scene. And what we've just opened is an interface that's got a number of things we can drag and drop into the scene. So if we go to this little light bulb section here, we've got different list of lights that we can use. We can drag and drop a point light into the scene. Just let go. So drag and drop into the 3D and let go. That should already have it selected in the 3D view. And you can transform it up and down, left and right, using X, Y, Z axes. Rotate it. Oh, important hotkeys we need to remember as well is E and R and W. So E is for rotation. So if we want to rotate the object, that'll be more visible on a mesh. So if we select this cube, this blue cube in the scene, and we hit E, and we start to play with the rotation, we can see that in the details section, that starts to change in real time the value. So we can see from 0 to minus 60, 7 back to 0, 30. But if we want, we can also manually input the rotation here. So if you want an accurate 43.5 degrees, let's say, manually input it and hit enter. And now if we want to go back to like a transformation, we hit W, and that takes us back to this little icon, and we can move the cube around. And the same with R. If we hit R, you can scale each axis individually. If you hover over the axis, you can do 2 axes at the same time if you click the line between the triangle. So we're manipulating X and Y, or X and Z. Or if we want to manipulate all 3, we select the white cube in the corner, and that's more of a uniform translation scale. Sorry. I will play with that. Delete that one. And another quick tip for scale, specifically if you want uniform stuff. Currently, if I change one of these properties, let's say I set this 2 to 1, it's going to change just that axis. If I click this lock button and I change this from 1 to 2, it's going to uniform scale the rest of the values as well. So it's going to double that. So just bear that in mind. Sometimes that lock feature may be on and it won't let you change each axis one by one. It's caught me out many times. Many times. Cool, so we brought our light in. Like I said, the same way you can manipulate it, move it up and down. We'll dive into more of the details, features in the next tutorial. But more things in the place actor section. We have shapes. So this is where we get our basic primitives. We have visual effects, stuff like fog, decals, clouds, more geometry sections, which we'll get into later on. and basically, yeah, anything that we're gonna need to drag and drop into the scene. Anything, that's a good point. Anything in this engine folder at the bottom, which Alex pointed out, is all available here in our classes section. So all the bit of code, all the bit of functions that we have is all listed in here. It's got some pretty cool stuff that we can use straight off the bat without having to do a lot of the work. So feel free to have a scroll through those and see what kind of stuff is available. A lot of that stuff may not make sense at the moment, but we'll dive into more detail as the workshops go on. Alrighty, any questions still here? Pretty familiar with 3D view and navigation?
I might be getting into the weeds here, but I was just experimenting a little with the block. Like after you were scaling it, I got curious. So I made a box a lot bigger, but it seems to have like the same kind of gravity, like as if it hasn't gained any weight. After that, I messed with the override world gravity, but then I think it affected all the blocks the same at the same time. Is there a way to like just adjust one block so it's like heavier, another block that it's lighter? Like how do you do that, so to speak?
That's one for Google, man. It's one for Google.
Okay. So it's getting into the weeds now. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
one for Google. Plus, it's probably a 5 minute explainer on top of that as well. I've conscious we only got 6 minutes left, so yeah, we can follow up on that, man. I can look into that as well and share some stuff on the Discord. But yeah, it
Sounds
is
good.
short answer is it is possible. It is possible.
Cheers, bro.
I also have one small question. Let's say
Sure.
you put a light in your scene, right? And you want to scale your light in one direction. It seems to uniformly scale into all directions. Like you can't make like an elongated light, for example.
So you've dragged in point light, just like I did.
Yeah.
Cool. So you can experiment with some of the other light features like rectangle light and spotlight. So rectangle light, basically as the word says it, is just facing that one way. So whichever way
So you
you.
wouldn't be able to use a point light to make it a different shape, basically. You would have to go for a rectangle light or a spotlight.
You can add. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You can add a light function material. So we can create a custom material that would act as a light, and um, you can apply certain box filters and stuff like that to it, sort of meshes. So if let's say if you want the light to um, display in a certain type of way, like you said, only in one direction, or if you want it to
Yeah,
splash, if you want it
if you
to.
just press R, for example, now on the point light, right? And then you just drag it on one axis, then it's gonna scale all of them.
Oh, is
That's
that what you
why.
mean? Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. No, that's primarily how the point light will work. We'll
Right, right,
dive
right.
into that into the next tutorial. It works with attenuation radius here, so that's sort of your scale there.
Mm.
With lights, we won't really work with the scale feature here. We're gonna work with attenuation radius and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
But
just something I noticed while playing around. So I was curious.
I mean, if you're comprehensive with code, you can probably get into the C++ of it and change that this is not a sphere, it's a box or or cone
Yeah.
or a cone or something like that. You can break that down.
All right.
Groovesy, groovesy. I like it. I like the advanced questions, putting me on the spot as well. Um, and the most important thing in the place actor section. So if we're using an asset relatively often, on the right left hand side, complete left hand side, we've got it recently placed. So all the assets that we recently used will be visible there. So we can drag and drop them anytime we need to, or we can set up keyboard shortcuts to create them for us. Last but not least, I will put this in the Google Drive and share it with you. So I'll share the link in the Discord channel after this workshop. But this is a little cheat sheet. Um, I haven't done it myself. I will not give myself credit. I was gonna attempt to do it, but I thought this looks pretty damn good, and it's got everything and everything you will need. So I recommend not having a look at all of it at the same time. Obviously, read through it and see what stands out, but take it section by section. Try not to, obviously, if you've got a good memory, then great. I've got a terrible one, so I like to take it section by section, use these hotkeys often, let it sink in, and then move onto the next bits. Or if I want to do something and I'm feeling like I'm slow, I just search that specific section alone and deep dive into it. But this has got everything from the different layers that we're going to dive into, such as landscape editors, modeling editors, cinematics, viewports, painting. This is stuff that I'm going to read as well after this as well. They added some more advanced ones, which is quite cool. But yeah, I'll share this in the drive, so everyone can use. Feel free to download it or put it on your desktop. Like I said, it will be quite handy to memorize. I'll minimize that. Yeah, keeping it basic for today. Probably you were familiar with a lot of the stuff that we've done, but for those of you who haven't, we can now sort of navigate in the scene, know where everything is in our outliner, detailed actors, and content browser. These are five main UI elements that we are going to use throughout these workshops. So feel free to place them where you like. So this place actors tab, I can take it, click and drag. Click and drag, and I can move it and dock it anywhere I want in the viewport. Usually I like to place it next to my outliner, so I just create a little bit more space in the 3D. So all of these tabs are movable. You can take the details out, put it somewhere else if you fancy, put it in between that and that. However way you want to customize your layout, feel free to experiment. But like I said, if it breaks and you get lost, you can always go back to edit, Windows, layout, reset. Groovy. I'm happy to. We're trying to keep this 1 hour short. Happy to dive into any more questions if you guys have them, or if you want to play around a little bit more with that game. Ooh, it's got collisions. What have we done? Try the 360.
May figured out what happened with the physics thing. I was messing with the world settings. So on the individual settings, you can actually set the mass kilogram. It's an easy physics setting. But if you go on the world settings and you set it to like 0.01 and you touch one of those blocks, they go flying, man.
So you had world settings visible here next to details?
Exactly. Yeah. I accidentally tapped that and then I edited the world settings and then I could adjust basically the what's it called? The environment physics. What was it? Yeah, so if you go to physics and you put override world gravity, so just scroll down a little bit.
So just to familiarize where everyone is, Milo is talking about, if you go to settings at the top right hand corner, you have this setting here, world settings, which is generally what is a world in Unreal is your whole project, the level that you're in at the moment. So this 3D space here, this environment that we're in, this is our world, this is our level. So these are settings that only persist with this specific level. So you went all the way down to collision.
Yeah. So it's in physics, and then it'll be override world gravity. It's the first tab in it,
Okay.
and then you can actually manually set what you want it to be. So like if you set it to like 0.01, right, and then just trigger the scene, you can effectively launch some of the blocks.
Whee!
And then they're like anti-gravity, and then you can jump and you just go flying. Yeah.
Of course you would play with that feature first. Of course you
Of
would.
course, man. Of course, bro.
How do I get down now? Mama, I'm scared of heights. Oh
We'll
man,
add a
it's
feature where you
insane.
smash the ground like a superhero, bro. That's how we do it.
Okay, so yeah, be aware which tab you are. Sometimes that's why I like to close them down or put them in another section to just avoid any confusion of adjusting anything in the world settings. Like I said, it only persists within this world. So if you create a new world and you start manipulating that world, those settings won't get transferred over. You can copy and paste them, but just bear that in mind. I'm going to reset that because I'm going to forget that. Everyone, we've been flying around all day. Um, if you're whatever in your scene, if you're lost in your scene and you can't find yourself, the best way, especially now I'm very high up, I want to move back down. I just click on a cube or some object in my scene, and I just hit F on the keyboard to zoom into it, and that sort of the camera finds itself again in the 3D world. Um, sorry, we didn't get a little bit into these, but feel free to have a play with them. These are the amounts of how meshes or objects in your scene are translated or scaled or rotated. So here, let's say now it's currently under 10. That means that when I move an object, when I translate it, it's going to move every 10 unreal units, which is centimeters. So if I want to use it, if I want to move it every 1 centimeter, I click 1. If I want to move it every 5,000 centimeters, I'll click that. Same with the rotation. If I want it to rotate increments of 5, 45, other divisions. Or if you want to remove it completely, you just click the item itself. So if I click that, now I don't have the rotation. Now I'm getting decimal places and whatnot. And then I click that again to go back to increments. Same with the scale. So yeah, I recommend after this tutorial, when you got some time this week, just firing up this scene again, start playing around with some objects, move them, increment them, look at them in the different viewports, so you can see, try to line some objects up. Obviously, you're familiar with, if you have any 3D background, it's probably a lot simpler. But yeah, just familiarize yourself with that. Obviously, Milo will just be exploding things and flying and no zero gravity stuff. But for those who are more down
That's what we do.
to
Oh yeah, I wanted to say as well, if you hold shift while moving an object, you stay with that object while sliding around. So it's really good if you have to move it really far away, like
yeah,
off the screen.
yeah, there you go.
That's always really
Yeah, these shortcuts are really the time saver. I mean, a few other ones is if you want to duplicate it quickly, just hold Alt and hit the transform tool and move it. So click Alt and move instead of doing Control C, Control V, or Control D, which duplicates it. Yeah, like this is so silly. In Unreal Engine 4, you had to Control C, Control V, and now in Unreal Engine 5, it's Control D to duplicate. But same thing as Alt and left click. There will be multiple ways, multiple hotkeys that you can do the same thing.
I'm noticing that when you move the objects, they're always moving in like these half square grid increments. Is there a way to move them without them adhering to the grid at all?
Yeah, just disable the snapping at the not the top toolbar, but next to
Ah,
your
there.
navigate. Whatever is blue is enabled, so you can disable the grid.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be quite handy. These increments when we're like when I was working with architectural models, though I mean there had to be no breakage in the model whatsoever, so that there was no light leaks coming through when I baked the lighting. So working with these snapping grids and stuff is quite useful. You can
Right.
snapping surfacing as well. You can enable
So
that.
let's say you move an object with the grid snapping turned off, but then you wanted to go back to adhering to the grid. How would you do that? Because when you turn it off and then you turn the snapping back on, it's kind of like off, if you get what I mean.
I guess
It's
you
it's
can
not gonna
manually
snap. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
you can do a manual. So let's say if it goes to like let's say 504.4, then it's a bit annoying to then start incrementing from there.
Right. All right. That makes a lot of sense.
Also, you'll be working with world and local transform gimbals. So this little world icon here, um, next to the grid and the rotation, if you click that, it's jackal through that changes from local transform to global transform. So global transform is within the whole scene, and the local transform is sort of like the pivot of that specific object and where it is at the current state. So you can see sometimes what rotation values they have.
It also lets you see what the individual values are in the dropdown, right? In the transform on details. With the little arrow on location, rotation, scale, those you can choose world or local, I think.
Yes, you can. Yeah, yeah. You have a
Yeah.
little drop down section.
Hmm.
So that's quite important when you're working with objects that have got different layers to them. So when we create, let's say an object in Maya or 3ds Max or somewhere, let's say a 3D character will have some items that they're wearing, clothing, guns that they're holding, and stuff like that. Um, so you might want to change the location of that in relation to the parent, or you might want to change the relation of that. Sorry, the translation of that in relation to the whole world. So that's a way to flick through those two values. Right, gonna have a little ciggy. If you wanna ask more questions, feel free. Feel free. I'll be here for another 5 minutes. When I get the cooking, I will turn off the streaming for this one. Bang on 1 hour and 8.